Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Still the funkiest music for an intro that could possibly be devised by man. That's not Isaac Hayes. Hey, everybody, and welcome back in to Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, how are you today?
Good. Scrambling this morning, but I'm settled and ready to talk Bama hoops.
Yeah, let's do. We're going to have to talk about this Auburn Bryan Harsin thing, though, because it has gotten absolutely comical. And look, I know we can joke all we want to, but there's some really smart people, very smart people, much smarter than us, in charge of Auburn University who are doing some things that neither you nor I would ever dream of doing. They sound so crazy.
Yeah, I like the let's invent a new policy in the midst of it all. It would be sort of like Alabama going, you know what? If you talk about God, if you question God during a press conference 3 or 4 days before you're fired, you owe us the buyout back. So hey, Dubos, send us that few million we gave you back in 2000 because we just instituted a new policy, you see, and we no longer owe you the buyout. I mean, that was, to me, Auburn hitting its newest low. There's a new low every day, but that one was that might take the cake.
I like the okay, we are family, and you will cooperate with us no matter what, and you will do what's best for Auburn University. Whenever we have an investigation, you will answer to the powers above you, no questions asked. And Bruce Pearl's over the side like, wait a minute, guys. Like, no, it doesn't count for you, Bruce. Don't worry about you, Bruce. You're good. We're only dealing with guys that we think are not good coaches. Bruce, you're fine. You can do it. Keep it going, fam.
And the Bruce thing was an NCAA investigation. An NCAA investigation. He didn't cooperate, and he wasn't in Mexico. He was in Auburn.
He just said, hey, look, not only am I not going to cooperate, I'm going to go over here to Acre and just have a dinner. So y'all just worry about that. Or, Mama Goldberg's. I'm going to be over there in case anybody wants to call me, but I'm not picking up the phone, so it doesn't matter. It's really comical how badly this has played out. But I have no doubt in my mind at all that somehow Auburn will win a national championship after this in some sport. I don't know what sport, but and in fact, Jimmy, we've already wasted the first few minutes on it. So I hate to jump into basketball, even though I'm excited to. We'll talk about basketball the next two segments, but Bryan Harsin is, as of this morning, planning to go to the SEC Coaches Conference, or whatever the hell that is. And
I think this is where they vent. They get to meet shortly after signing day to vent and cuss at each other about recruiting and cheating. And you said this and you said that. It's kind of like, I don't know that that's what it was designed to do, but whenever you have all of the football head coaches meeting this shortly after signing day, it's going to come up. That's going to come up.
Well, it's going to be reminiscent of the Progressive commercial where it's like, we're trying to help you not turn into your parents, and they're all in the parking lot of the football stadium, and they keep talking about parking lots, and the guy's like, let's quit talking about, we just got to the game. Let's quit talking about parking lots. I think it's going to be the same way. Everybody's going to go, okay, we need to talk about etiquette on the recruiting trail. And, somebody's going to raise the head coach at South Carolina is going to raise his hand and be like, yeah, I do want to talk about etiquette on the recruiting trail, but what the hell is happening at Auburn? And then the LSU coach would be like, yeah, what is going on over there? And the SEC commissioner would be like, okay, let's not talk about Auburn for just a minute. We want to stay on point. And then the head coach at Florida, yeah, I do want to stay on point. But what is that about? That's crazy, right? I mean, that's nuts. I mean, this is so much fun to watch from afar. And there is a part of me that feels for my Auburn friends because we have, in a sense, been there. We hadn't been there to this degree. I mean, what Auburn's doing is unprecedented with an AU. But our escapades with the various mics we had was bad. I mean, it was really bad, and we didn't have to go through that though in the Twitterverse. Auburn's going through this in the world of expanded and all-powerful social media, which it makes it even a lot worse. I mean, look, I don't like looking at Twitter after an Alabama loss in equestrian. So I can't imagine how horrible it is to look at Twitter every single moment that this debacle continues.
Yeah, I've talked about this a couple of times, but it is really similar to Alabama in '87. But it's not similar, and it's not similar because there was no social media in 1987. There was no Twitter, there was no Facebook, there was no talk radio in 1987, not sports talk. So when Alabama was going through this similar situation, when Bill Curry's hiring, Bill Curry survived another 2 years. But I insist, had social media existed back in '87, I don't know that Curry would have lasted a single year. It would have been like a fire that swept out of control, like what's going on at Auburn right now. Not an excuse for Auburn, because Auburn brought this upon themselves, just like Alabama brought it upon themselves with the dysfunctional hiring process, where you do things like hire Bill Curry from Georgia Tech over Bobby Bowden from Florida State, even requiring him to interview for a job, as if you would ever ask Tom Cruise to audition for a role. I mean, that's just, it was insane. And Alabama deserved to be called out on it back in '87, just like Auburn deserves what's happening to them right now.
Maybe Alabama's was more stupid in '87. I mean, because asking Bobby Bowden to interview at that time is just like asking Tom Cruise to audition for the Tom Cruise story as told by Tom Cruise. I mean, it's so stupid. I can't even imagine what the hell Joab Thomas was thinking. Oh my God, that makes me so mad.
When the president and the AD go one way, and it's not what all of the football boosters want done, it's going to create a mess, particularly at a program like Alabama. That was going to be a mess. And then you hire a head coach who's not accepted by the folks that write the biggest checks. He wasn't accepted, and there's nothing he can do to make them happy. And then he goes 7-5 on the field and loses to Memphis. And in that way, this is so similar to what's happened with Harsin, who was never accepted by the powers that be, because the president and the AD did something they didn't want to do. And then this happened. And then what poured gasoline on this was social media, where then there's rumors. And so the check writers, they pounced on this. And that's what separates this situation from the Bill Curry situation. The social media that allowed the powers that be to probably spread rumors, or at least retweet unfounded rumors. And it just helped create this mess that's entertaining for everyone that is not an Auburn fan. And for run-of-the-mill Auburn fans, for just fans of the football team that buy season tickets and go to the games and love Auburn because they went to school there, I almost feel for them, because this is just, that's got to be frustrating for them to be like, let us run the program because we actually care about this place. And that's a frustrating part of this too.
What is even makes all of this more comical is the hypocrisy that surrounds it all, which isn't just emblematic of Auburn. It's emblematic of sports and I guess life and society in general. But it's funny because the one thing I keep hearing from various message boards and Auburn related shows is, we got to get these damn boosters out of there. These boosters always want to, they're power hungry, they're rich, they don't want to. Oh, wait a minute. You mean some boosters just gave the largest donation in the history of Auburn University to name themselves, put their name on Auburn Arena? It's right. they don't mind it when the boosters do what they want. But see, when you invite boosters, it's like, look, and I've succumbed to it. I'm pro boosters. I'm willing to understand that boosters are going to get in there and meddle because they're powerful people, type A personalities with a lot of money, and they can do it. So they will do it. I am an unpowerful person, a type B personality with no money. I cannot meddle. All I can do is this podcast. This is this far reaching of my meddleness. And but I also understand that, therefore, if you're going to have boosters that are this powerful, you have to have a coach that's even more powerful. Bryan Harsin ain't that coach. Now, Nick Saban is that coach, and Bruce Pearl is that coach. Bryan Harsin ain't that coach. He hadn't built up enough cachet to be able to deal with these boosters, and that's part of the problem. Now, if he survives this, oddly, he will have some cachet, but not the right kind to deal with this long term. He won't be able to deal with this long. It's a complete cluster, no matter what. If we were all playing Tecmo Bowl on our Nintendos right now, we would all unplug it, wait 10 seconds, and plug it back in. Because this is so bad, you have to have a hard reset. That's the only way to do it. Jimmy, I got to tell everybody about Bet Online. There might be less football being played, but betonline.net has way more stuff to bet on this playoff season. From scores and totals to player performance props to where the next coach who's going to be fired is going to land, BetOnline is the number one spot for all NFL betting and any betting in 2022. And it's not just football. I just said that, but it's not just football. BetOnline.net's basketball, hockey, boxing, UFC odds, coverage is the best in the business. I'm not playing there. From sports right down to your favorite Vegas casino games, BetOnline.net is your number one online wagering destination. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports and play your favorite games. BetOnline, it's where the game starts, Jimmy. We're not screwing around about that. BetOnline is where the game starts. Awkward pause and scene. Now we can go on to the next segment. Let's talk a little bit about Alabama's big win in basketball last night, which was very nice. I mean, look, Ole Miss is not very good, but we needed this, and we needed this shooting performance. So many things to be proud of last night. Just getting the win, number one. I didn't care how we got it. I just wanted to get it. I made a bold prediction on the Montgomery radio station yesterday that I'm a guest on every Wednesday, and I said I think Alabama wins the next 3 games. That means starting last night, that prophecy came true. That means Saturday when they play Arkansas, I still feel good about it. I think we're catching Arkansas at a great time in terms of what Arkansas is doing and just did, and in terms of what we're doing and just did. So I feel like that's a perfect storm. And then we play Mississippi State, who just got beat at home by Tennessee. And so, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good right now. Jimmy, what last night make you think about?
Well, it was a really good win, and not just because we won the game. That was big because we hadn't won a road game since I think the very first one of the SEC season when we inexplicably beat Florida in Gainesville. We hadn't won on the road since then, and so it was big for that. But it is bigger because of the way they played. We needed a night where not just Quinterly shot well, although he needed that. We needed a night where everyone shot well, and that's what happened. And we needed a night where or guys that don't normally contribute to the wins contribute. I mean, Jusaun Holt, who didn't score much, he was really good defensively and helped kind of quell the fire. Ole Miss came out shooting really well, and Holt was one of the perimeter defenders that sort of quieted it down and allowed Alabama to get back in the game and eventually win easily. Just a great team win. I really like the looks on the faces of the guys when the game was over and they're in the handshake line and shaking each other's hand. They looked really happy, and I love seeing that because that sort of thing can be contagious, and they need it because we're coming up on the part of the schedule where you can really rack up some wins. You don't need to look 3 and 4 games ahead. It's one game at a time. But we really did go through a stretch of the season where it was tough to win games because everybody we're playing was really good. And now, you're playing, after Arkansas anyway, a very beatable Mississippi State team. I think the last 4 SEC teams we play, Luke, the last 4, none of them have a winning record in the SEC. So we could really start climbing and and right now it's all about seeding. Hey, we're in the tournament. It would take a total disaster for us to play ourselves out of the tournament. We're in, but we need a better seed. We need the best seed possible so we can have winnable games and that opening weekend and get to the Sweet 16. And I'm not saying that's the ultimate goal here, but we all have to remember where we are historically and what we are historically. And Alabama getting to the Sweet 16 is a big damn deal. The first time I see someone angry we didn't get past the Sweet 16, I'm going clock tower. I mean, I get being disappointed that we didn't make the Elite Eight or the Final Four. I get everybody wanting to. I get that that's the goal, but being mad and wanting to fire people, you're just insane is all that is. So let's win some games, get a better seed, put ourselves in a position to win some games in the NCAA tournament and live up to the potential of this team. And the potential of this team, I think, in terms of as good as it can get for these guys, is probably somewhere around Sweet 16, maybe Elite Eight. Final Four, I know it's possible. All things are possible. But since we lost add Namari Burnett and Josh Primo to this team, and yeah, that's a Final Four team. But we don't have Namari Burnett or Josh Primo.
One thing I love about the new video YouTube stuff we do is when you're in the car, you slowly, as you're holding the phone there, you begin to slowly lose hand strength. And the screen ends up like about midway through that story, you got to right here, and it was just your eyes and your mouth. And I was like, I wonder if he's going to slip all the way to his mouth. It's just his mouth talking. And then it's like you found your second wind and you were able to pick it back up, and we got the whole Jimmy experience, which was great.
That close to see when you're talking or doing the ads, I'm focused on that. I'm listening. When I start talking, and particularly when I get like emotional, I lose it. I'm like I don't even know that I'm holding the phone. I'm like I got a little pissed there. I got pissed because in my head I was mad at some fictional person who was angry that we lost the Sweet 16 game. This person doesn't exist yet, but I'm easily imagining losing this team that struggled at times, to say the least. This team actually getting the Sweet 16 and someone being angry and wanting to fire Nate, and I was getting mad and losing my grip on the phone.
That's so funny because it's like you were being Kramer, getting fired from a job you didn't have. All right, Jimmy, let's take a break. I want to come back and talk a little bit more about this game here in just a second. Jimmy, okay, so you brought up Jusaun Holt. He played 26 minutes yesterday. I'm looking at the stats right now. He played more than J.D. Davison. He played more than Keon Ellis. He played more than Charles Bediako or Juwan Gary. That's bananas talk. Now, here's what I like about it more than anything. Now, people are going to say, well, he was our second leading rebounder. Don't you love that? I find it interesting. I'm not sure I like it. I find it interesting. I like his 3 assists, and I like the fact he was only 1 of 2 from the floor. He knows his role right now. This is not a freshman who got in and thought, this is my shot. I got to shoot when I can shoot. I got to do what I can do. He was team first. I dig that. Now, he's obviously got some bulking up to do, but man, I was really happy with him. You mentioned Quinterly and shooting better. I thought he shot better last night too, but then you look at the stats, he was 4 of 10 and 1 of from the field and 1 of 2 from beyond the 3-point arc and 0 of 1 from free throws. He really didn't have a great night. Now, he had 8 assists, which and he did have 1 big 3-pointer, I think, in the middle of a run where Shackelford had 2 of them, and then Quinterly capped it off with yet another. Shackelford ended up with 30 points, 8 of 13 from beyond the arc. Every time we do a podcast from here on out, I'm going to implore Jaden Shackelford to consider coming back to Alabama next year. Not because I think I'm just going to beg him because I think he's, because I'm not worried about his interest. I think this is in his interest too. I think that he can become an absolute Alabama legend if he comes back. And I think that would be wonderful. So I'm hoping he doesn't go pro or transfer, because I think that he can come back to Alabama and really help us have an incredible year and be the leader for next year. So that would be a wonderful thing. I'm a little bit disturbed at how little Juwan Gary played, and how little I hate to say how little he contributed, but he only had 11 minutes. He had 6 points, which was nice, but only one rebound. Charles Bediako, only 15 points. I don't think it was a Charles Bediako game. So I'm fine with his not playing quite so much. And frankly, after dealing with Auburn and Kentucky in back-to-back games, he probably needed a little bit of a rest. He ended up having a pretty good game, in my opinion, based on the amount of time he played. Darius Miles, only 6 minutes. I am getting a little more a little less concerned about JD Davidson. I'd begun to go from, okay, he's going to be fine, to, maybe he's not going to be fine. Well, now he had 24 minutes. He was 7 of 8 from the field. He had 2 of 2 from beyond the arc. He had 3 rebounds, 8 assists. I mean, that's huge. Steal and a block. No fouls. And frankly, I'd be fine if he had a foul. I like seeing somebody have a foul in the box score. It means they were trying. But anyway, I thought JD played a good game. So overall, very satisfying win. We almost got to 100 on the road, which is a huge deal. And it's the 5th win in a row against Ole Miss, as we have very confusingly discussed the Alabama-Ole Miss history of the series in the last podcast.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of contributions. And Quinterly didn't have a great statistical night in terms of scoring or shooting, but he was 1 of 2. I'll take that 50% over what he has been. But he just seemed to play a little more maybe under control and didn't necessarily take bad shots. And I think Quinterly's at his best when he feels like, when you can sense with him, you're like, if this guy gets too close to me, I'm going to blow past him and lay it up and take 2. Or if he lays off me, I'm gonna shoot the ball and it's gonna go in. I just saw a little more confident Quinterly last night, and that was good to see. But it wasn't nearly as good to see as JD Davison playing probably his best game, certainly his best game since Gonzaga, and maybe even better than that, in the sense that JD was so under control. He was so under control. The 8 assists were awesome. All the shots he took were great. He nothing but net on the 2 3-pointers. His passes were, which is the best part of his game. He is an NBA ready passer in the lane. He's so good at that. And he showed that off again. And, now the thing with him is, okay, do it again. Because the greats don't just do it once a month, and it's going to get tougher Saturday. We're playing a better team. So, yeah, just a great all-around team effort. As far as those inside guys, I think part of the numbers might have been in the second half, it looked like we were more comfortable playing with 4 perimeter players and 1 inside guy. And when we do that, usually the 1 inside guy is like Rojas, who does play kind of big and mean when he's the only inside guy out there. And Gurley played well. He played hard. I don't necessarily think it's always pretty with him. But if Noah Gurley plays with great effort, he does help us. And I thought it was his most helpful game last night. And there were stretches of the time where he was the only big guy on the court. And that puts a lot on him. And he did well. So it's just a great team win. Now let's see what happens Saturday against literally the hottest team. Arkansas is not the best team in the league. That's Auburn or maybe Kentucky, but they're the hottest team.
But if you somehow magically, prophetically had the rebounding trifecta ticket of Gurley, Holt, and Shackelford in that order, you won $1 gazillion. I mean, that's literally like 2 3-legged horses and a goat coming in first, second, third in the Kentucky Derby. That nobody would have ever thought that because that is just a bizarre combo of 3 guys leading and rebounding. And yes, I think you could spin it and say, okay, that's mildly concerning that those 3 guys were your leading rebounders. But I'm going to shake it off as an anomaly. And right now we need to get a win, whatever that meant we had to do. And hopefully a stat line like that will motivate some of our more traditional rebounders to do a little bit more, because I can't imagine winning a ton of games when those three guys are your leading rebounders. No shot at them. It's just not, those are not who should be our leading rebounders. I just wanted to throw that out there. Jimmy, that's going to do it for this episode. We probably will do another episode this afternoon. We got a little bit behind. I had to go on a business trip to Franklin, New York. It was cold as bejesus, and we got a little bit behind, but we're going to maybe do another episode this afternoon that we'll put out tomorrow. Hopefully there'll be some shenanigans from this coaches meeting, and we will be able to discuss that. So, and discuss a little bit about Arkansas. So until then, everybody, appreciate you, and roll tide.
Roll Tide.